Hey, this is John from whatifi, and in this video we're going to cover a core concept called ledgers. Ledgers is a financial term for where financial data is stored month by month by month. In our system, you might also think of them as being accounts, and they're not just financial, they can also store other information like customer, products, inventory, all sorts of information that are required. So again, think of the term of ledgers as also being interchangeable with things like accounts. When we add an event to whatifi, for example, like an income event, we put in dollar values and cadences and frequencies, but we also have the ability to select a ledger that we want to assign that value to. So for example, here we have an income, and under the income ledger, under main income, we've created a sub-account or a sub-ledger called income stream 1, and we're assigning that revenue to that bucket. In accounting terms, we also have a contra account or a contra ledger. So not only are we adding to our income, but we're also adding to our cash. So this is like a debit and a credit in traditional accounting. In our expense event, for example, here, we have a quarterly expense, which is $4,000. And here we've assigned this to our expenses, and we have some of the common ledgers like cost of goods sold, operating expenses, and other expenses, and we've assigned it to operating expenses. I'm going to show you in this video how you can create new ledgers, both for financial calculations, but I'll also show you how those ledgers can get generated for other types of information as well. So for example, maybe we want to create a sub-ledger here to give us some finer granularity in how we track some of our values. There are two ways of creating ledgers. You can create them on the fly. So for example, in this particular structure, you can drill down to the layer that you want to create something in and say create ledger. So we could create a ledger here called foo, for example, and in this modal you have control over how you display this information. Most of the time, if it's financial, the default display here will be perfectly fine. Dollars, decimal places, what the space is between, and this will show you what the output is going to look like for that calculation. And we can create that ledger, and then we can assign the value to that ledger, and then when we update this, you'll sort of see, upon recalculation, that if we drill down into our operating expenses, we have a ledger called foo, and here you're seeing that $4,000 every month. So you can generate these on the fly as you're going and put them into the buckets, or you can pre-build some of your ledger setups. Up in the top right corner here is our ledger control panel. When you click this up, it also gives the ability to pre-create some of your custom ledgers in advance. In this modal, you drill down to the layer that you want to create that data in. So for example, in here, I may have some customer cohorts. I may want to create a KPI. I may want to create sub-cohorts in website visitors, things like this. Now, there's some really important information here. In some of our events, we create these structures for you, and in some of these events, you can kind of create these on the fly. That will be controlled when you're actually using the events, and we'll let you know when you can create ledgers and when you want to be using our automated systems. Okay, so for example here, if I wanted to, I could also go into my income, I could go into my main income, and much like we had income stream number 1, I can come back here and I can pick the main income as being the place that I want to create that new ledger, and I can call something here income stream number 2. And this is creating the bucket or the ledger behind the scenes. And if I close this down now, what's going to be really important is you'll notice if I go into my main income here, I still only have income stream 1. Because we generate so many ledgers behind the scenes, we only display here ledgers that actually have values. So we're trying not to clutter your interface. And to be clear, if we were to flip over to here, for example, this gives you a sense of just how much information we're calculating. And here in an export from whatifi, you can get access to all your values, including 0 values. But for now, we want to make sure that we only display values that matter to you at this stage. So if I was to come into my income event here, and I was to duplicate this one, and let's create an income stream number 2. Here we're labeling it. Maybe this is something that's $100,000, and this happens bi-weekly. we can now choose to repath this to be income stream number 2. And when I click update, and when I resimulate our calculations, if I was to look at our income now, you'll see that we have the 2 income streams. The other thing that's very valuable about our ledger structure is it is a roll-up structure. So you will notice here that my main income is now an aggregate of the 300,000 and the 10,000. And my total income is an aggregate of the main income and those sub-ledgers. This is very powerful because it means we are aggregating data for you on the fly, as opposed to you having to pre-create formulas and expressions to group values together. So what have we done? We've shown you how you can create ledgers on the fly in our actual modal here, and we've shown you how you can pre-create ledgers using this create custom ledger modal here to be able to create some of these. For example, maybe I want to create a new custom KPI. This might be something like my CAC to LTV ratio, for example. Now here, maybe I want to have a different value or a display, so I might call this my ratio. I could change the display of that value, and now instead I'm getting different numbers here and how they're going to be able to display. So if we assign any values to this ledger, it will get those display properties.